What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another week of the Sports Degenerates podcast. If this is your first time listening to us, make sure to also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Spreaker. Guys, we're also on Twitter at the Sports Degens and Instagram at Sports Degenerates Podcast. And finally, you guys can watch us on YouTube. We're live streaming this episode actually right now.
Hopefully.
So
it should be working.
Hopefully. So make sure, please, to follow us on every single one of these platforms if you can, or one of them, whatever you want to do. But if you are listening to this episode, please, no matter what platform you are listening to this on, give it a big thumbs up, give it a like. That'd be fantastic. But time for our normal intro. You guys know us. We're just a couple of college students. We love talking about sports, watching sports, listening to sports, everything to do with sports. So here we are. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. Got a little bit of a rant coming up for today's episode.
Yes, you do.
That'll be fun. But other than that, can't complain about a ton of things. I could complain about the robe, but we'll talk about that later as well.
Yes, we will.
How you doing?
I'm not doing too bad. Celtics got a big win yesterday, and the Bruins got a big win the night before. So it's a big time right now.
Good time for Boston sports.
Let's talk about the Celtics. Celtics won 118-100 against the Wizards in the play-in tournament, led by a huge game by Jason Tatum, 50 points. Second highest score was Kemba Walker, which is good to see. He had 29. So two good games by them. I'm really happy to see that. I'm really disappointed by Evan Fournier only having 8 points. I don't know what's going on with him. He did say, though, that he's been having troubles with COVID. He said after he had COVID that he's been kind of in a fog recently.
Cam
with
Newton
that
style.
Exactly. He was saying, because here's the thing, Cam Newton said that he was never in a COVID fog. That's the thing.
Maybe he actually wasn't. Maybe he's just washed.
Exactly. Whereas Evan
he should have blamed him.
Exactly. Whereas Evan Fournier was saying, he was like, that he was just having like almost double vision, he was saying, and stuff like that, and things were cloudy. So that might be a big reason why he's struggling. I hate to make excuses. Maybe he's making excuses for himself.
Maybe.
But I don't know. Robert Williams had a okay game. First game back in a while. 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 4 points. I'd like to see a few more points out of him. Marcus Smart,
he got hurt
7
again,
points.
though.
You're right, he
so
did, which absolutely sucks. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, these are the hospital Celtics this year. That's
they
their
really
name.
Are.
That's their name. But what did you see out of the Celtics? You said you watched the whole game last night.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of a slow start out of Tatum mainly. I was worried it was going to be, hit or miss Tatum. Like tonight's going to be the night he goes 3 for 17 from the field. But he turned it around really quickly. Last week on the podcast, I said if the Celtics and the Wizards have a play-in game, which they did end up having, I said the Wizards would win that game. They're the better team. They're healthier. At first, it was looking like that. The Wizards led for a good bit of time in, I think, the second or third period. But that's when Jason Tatum started pouring it on, finally. He was completely different at the start of the second half. In the third quarter, he had 23 points. And there's one point, I think, in a 1 or 2 minute span, it's drain it. I was like, okay, he's turning it on now. Loved seeing that. Loved seeing Kemba shoot pretty consistently, too. The only downside to a great night is they're going to have to play like that every single night against the Nets. Yeah,
I agree. I'm worried about the Nets. You don't think they're going to win a single game against the Nets? You think that they might win one game?
They'll win one game. The one game Tatum probably ties Larry Bird again.
I'm so torn with it because I can see this. I can see them winning maybe 2 games. I don't think they're going to beat them. I think it also depends on how healthy the Nets end up being. Excuse me. Because the Nets have had the same problem.
That's the only way I think they win 2 games.
If I don't know what was Robert Williams' injury? Do you know? Do you have any idea?
It was turf toe.
Turf toe, that's not good.
He slammed his toe on the floor on one play.
So that means he's probably going to be out for a few games again. Yeah. But if Tatum and Walker can perform like they did last night, then I guess they might have a chance. You also need those other players, your other backup players, to have decent games, which again, you're not really seeing that. Saw Tatum 50 points, Walker 29, Tristan Thompson had 12, and those are the only 3 players that had double digits.
Yeah.
Then going down the line, Evan Fournier had 8. Robert Williams had 4. Marcus Smart had 7. Romeo Langford 3. Aaron Nesmith 3. Carson Edwards 2. Yeah. You can't have that. We've talked about this time after time again that you can't have that. You need to have more scoring than that, especially against a team like the Nets.
And honestly, I don't think you can rely on those guys or count on them or expect them to have that scoring at all. That's why I only see the Celtics winning games if Tatum is putting up insane numbers.
Which I'm not going to lie, I can see him doing. I can see him finally turning it on. I mean, because last season he had all those other players on the team during the playoffs and all that. But I mean, this year he knows, especially right now, this is his team. It's time for him to step up. It's time for him to be a superstar.
He's got to do what Steph Curry's doing out in Golden State.
Exactly. He might see that. He might go off. I don't know. I will say I don't know if I said this last week, but I definitely disagreed with the take that the Wizards would win. I think even with the Celtics being injured, that they were the better team than the Wizards overall.
I thought they would. The Wizards had turned it on as of late with Westbrook playing well, and Beal was back last night.
Yes.
But
yes.
They had a down night.
I agree, but I don't. Yeah, they definitely had a down night, and Tatum had a huge night, and Kemba Walker had a big night, which is huge. Like I said, you need to see this side of them the next few games. I said this earlier. I don't want to see Evan Fournier 36 minutes, 8 points. What are we doing here? No. I mean, 6 rebounds, great. 4 assists, fine. But like, you need him to score. You need. I mean, I want to see at least 12 points out of this guy. I don't want to be seeing. 12 points out of Tristan Thompson, great, but like, 4 of them should have double digits. You should see a 20, 25, 30-point game out of Jason Tatum, a 20-point game out of Kemba Walker, hopefully a 12-point game out of Tristan Thompson, a 12-point game out of Evan Fournier, and maybe even a 10-point game out of Marcus Smart. That's what you need if you want to win, especially against this great team, the Nets.
And, credit to Tristan Thompson, too, last night for having those 12 points and 12 rebounds.
Yeah.
I think if Robert Williams is out now, Tristan Thompson's going to have to play like that every night.
Yes,
now.
He does. He needs to step up. I totally agree. And I also want to see Peyton Pritchard do a little more. I mean, he only had 5 minutes, surprisingly, against. I don't know what Brad Stevens is doing there.
He hasn't given him a lot of minutes the past couple weeks, I've noticed.
No, I don't know. Maybe coming down to crunch time doesn't really want to trust a rookie, especially mid-round pick rookie. I get. Yeah. But I don't know. I still want to see him play a little more. And I'd rather see him play over, I don't know, Aaron Nesmith. I mean, don't get me wrong, Nesmith is good, has potential, but I'd rather see, especially since Nesmith is a point guard, I think, too, right?
Yeah, I think him and.
I'm not sure. Because I know Pritchard is a point guard. I'd rather see Peyton Pritchard as the backup point guard over Aaron Nesmith, who played 14 minutes over Peyton Pritchard's 5. I mean,
It's funny. They're the 2 Celtics rookies, and they kind of flip-flopped in the last couple weeks. Like Peyton Pritchard was the go-to guy off the bench, go-to rookie, I'll say. But Nesmith has been getting a lot more minutes than Pritchard lately.
He has been,
and he's done okay at times. He's had a couple nice double-digit games. I think if you could rely on anyone on the bench, it's going to be Nesmith or Pritchard. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see Pritchard get more minutes too, though. He's got that potential.
Yeah, I agree. So would I. But like we said, play-in tournament, they're moving on to play the Nets now.
That's right.
And the play-in tournament is also what lost you the bet of the week. So we bet on the Hornets against the Grizzlies.
It was
I don't know why I said
Warriors.
The Hornets. Yes, sorry, the Warriors against the Grizzlies. Right?
So
Grizzlies.
that was interesting. Yeah. I was under the impression that the 8 and the 9 seed would play a play-in game, and the 7 and the 10 seed would play. It's not that. It's a lot more complicated, and I won't really waste time explaining it. I'm sure a lot of our viewers and listeners might know how the play-in tournament works.
Long story short, it was the 8 and 7 seed going up against each other. Loser of that would face the winner of the 9 and 10 seed, and the winner of that game would determine who the official 8th seed was.
So weird.
But
luckily,
tell me why you don't like it.
The Warriors and the Grizzlies did play in the final regular season game, so by default, Warriors won that. That's what we're going to use as our bet of the week. Yeah. The Warriors did still beat the Grizzlies. It just wasn't a play-in game. Whatever. So I'm in the robe again. But this play-in thing, here's my rant. LeBron a couple weeks ago, when he realized he might have to be in it, said whoever came up with that blank needs to be fired. Yeah. And honestly, I agree with him. I agree with him. I think he's a little bit of a crybaby LeBron. We know that. If he was the 1 seed, he would say it's great. And I think he did say the play-in tournament is great before he was a part of it. But just look at the the standings, all right? The Lakers and the Warriors are the 7 and the 8 seed.
Yep.
Traditionally, they would be the final 2 teams that just make it in. Now, down to the Grizzlies, the 9th seed, they're a game behind the Warriors, and the 10th seeded Spurs are 5 games behind the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
And you're telling me somehow the Spurs have a chance to make it in over the Warriors or the Lakers if they could win just 1 game? It seems a little weird to me, a little wrong to me that a team that's won 9 games less than the Lakers could make the playoffs above the Lakers if, or even the Warriors. Let's say the Spurs beat the Grizzlies in their 9-10 matchup.
Yeah.
And they then beat the loser of the Lakers-Warriors game. The Spurs are then in over a team that played consistently better than them all throughout the regular season. I mean, why not just go with the traditional 1 through 8 seeds make it? And NBA, you kind of played yourself because the 7 and the 8 seeds this year are LeBron and Curry. Imagine the viewership if you had Curry versus the Jazz, 1 versus 8 seed, and LeBron versus the Suns, 2 and 7 seed. That, the winner of that Lakers-Warriors game is still going to play the Suns regardless.
Yep.
That'll be an awesome series. But what if one of these guys is out now and a nobody team that only has 10 fans like the Grizzlies makes it in? No offense, Ja Morant's cool. But I'm just saying that the way that this all played out, I don't think it's working, and I don't like the fact that a team like the Spurs can make it in over the Lakers, who are just better.
Okay. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with LeBron.
Yeah.
That shit's stupid.
It
is.
It really is.
Because I don't think it makes any sense. I totally agree with you that, I mean, the way that the 9th seed is never in the playoffs. The 10th seed is never in the playoffs.
So why are they this year?
Why are they getting a chance to be in the playoffs this year? That doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah. I get it. It gives more excitement. It extends the playoffs pretty much. It's a play-in tournament. It makes the playoffs longer. It draws more money for the NBA. It's a cash grab. That's all it is. But
that's why I'm saying they played themselves. They'd have even more of a cash grab if they just let 7 and 8 seed LeBron and Curry play.
I agree. I mean,
it's funny.
if anything, maybe I could understand doing like a play-in between the 8th and 9th seed or something to determine what you want the 8th seed to be. Give a little bit more of that intrigue. But I agree. Like, why should the 10th seed have a chance to get into the playoffs? That's not how this works. It's not how it ever works. I don't think that's how it works in any sport in general. Maybe in baseball, actually. Maybe baseball.
Yeah.
Either way. Yeah. Baseball. Yeah, the wild card round. I guess you can consider that. But no, I agree that this shouldn't be a thing. This shouldn't be a thing. The 10th seed shouldn't have a chance to get in over the team that is the fair 8th seed
or the fair 7th seed.
Exactly.
If the Lakers lose to the Warriors, we could have Lakers Spurs.
Exactly. Listen. One thing I will say in defense of that is that, like I said, it does make it interesting. Like, how interesting would that be if the Warriors, the Lakers, everybody expected them to possibly repeat this year. They were the last year's champions, that they end up not making the playoffs because of this play-in tournament. How interesting would that be? Like, yeah, there's going to be plenty of people that are mad about it, but, I mean, people are going to be interested about that. That makes the news. That makes it really interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would add some intrigue, but I think in the long run that would be a loss if that happens this year.
You think so?
You don't have LeBron in the playoffs. And
that's huge.
He's the main attention grabber.
Of course. I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I mean, especially in the East. I don't know. Yeah, it's the Celtics. It was the Celtics,
the
Wizards, Hornets, and who am I missing?
Pacers.
Pacers. Thank you.
Yeah. Now Wizards Pacers is actually going to be a fair play-in game because they have the same record. But in that case out west, it's just stupid. Doesn't make sense.
Like I said, I think in the East, especially right now, because especially the East is so close, it makes it interesting. So if you have the play-in tournament, you run the risk of that happening. You're going to have maybe the 10th seed is going to have a bad record, and they're going to be playing against a team that deserves to be in there with a better obvious like 7th seed record, like you mentioned with the Spurs and Lakers here.
Yeah, Lakers are 42 and 30, by the way. Spurs are 33 and 39. I didn't mention it because I'm looking at it on the screen. I know you guys can't see it.
Yeah.
But that's the records.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. So I think in the case of the East, I think it definitely makes it interesting, whereas the West, it doesn't. So you run that risk of that happening that, yes, it can work out. There are certain situations that it works out, but there are other situations that it doesn't, and people will get mad about it.
Right.
So I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to. I will say at the moment I don't agree with it because I'm sure if I was the ace seed, I'd be really mad that why am I not guaranteed a playoff spot? This is how it should be. This is how it normally is. So
and Curry and the Warriors have fought hard all season. Well, Curry has fought hard. The rest of his team sucks. For the most part.
Besides maybe Andrew Wiggins. I almost called him Anthony Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins.
I don't remember his name either.
Yeah, it's definitely Andrew Wiggins. But
and they've worked hard to get up to that 8th seed, and now with 1 or 2 losses, they could just it could be all for nothing.
Something about Andrew Wiggins. I'm just letting you guys know before I mute my mic.
Andrew Wiggins. What about him? What about him, Wags?
My thing with Andrew Wiggins is he's an outstanding player, but he ended up not working out too well with Jimmy Butler when they played together, and then literally that year, Jimmy Butler willed the Heat to the finals in one of the greatest upsets I think that we will see within our timelines in terms of the NBA. And to me, Andrew Wiggins saying that Jimmy Butler was like too hard on him or anything, that just really stands out to probably why we hear all about Curry and nothing about Wiggins.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, he's a forgotten man. You don't really see him doing all that much. I mean, I agree. I totally agree with that. I mean, yeah, he's a good player. I don't know what he's averaging.
Okay. I think he's like 16 or 17 a game. I mean,
really?
He should be a little better. This has been the whole thing with Andrew Wiggins since he entered the league pretty much. He's never lived up to expectations.
Yeah. He's averaging 18.6 points per game. So he could be better. He should be better.
Yeah.
He was one of the top draft picks in the year that he came out. So, yeah, like I said, you said that the whole team besides Curry isn't good. I will argue that Wiggins is a good player, a good complementary player especially. But no, I totally agree that, the Warriors played their asses off, and they what seed are they right now? They deserve to be the 8th seed. They shouldn't be overtaken by the Grizzlies or the Spurs as the 8th seed, because especially Steph Curry played his ass off to get to that point and be the 8th seed and get his team to the 8th seed. So he deserves to be in there. That would be a travesty if he's not in the playoffs because of that. Yeah, sure, he'll probably lose to whoever in the first round, maybe the Jazz, but still,
probably
he can at least make it competitive, make it interesting, because it's Steph freaking Curry. Come on.
And that's viewership, man. That's the money. They added a couple games, which will make him a little more money, but they played themselves in the West. It works in the East, doesn't work in the West. Just trash the whole thing. Why do we even have it?
I get it. I totally get it. But a playoff that is not fixed and is not broken and should never be fixed is the NHL playoffs. Oh my God, is this stuff exciting? So I want to talk about the Bruins.
What a series that's going right there.
So far, Bruins and Caps are tied 1-1. Both games have gone to overtime.
Oh yeah.
Which is so much fun. And the Bruins won. Taylor Hall. Oh my God, I love this man. I love this man. I know I said it last week. I said it the week before. Oh my God, he got lucky there in the final couple minutes of that game. Game 2, scrum in front of the net. It just happened to go in front of him, and he just like barely hit it in. Mm-hmm. They got so lucky that was able to trickle through. And then Marchand scored with like seconds into overtime. Oh my God, it was amazing. And this series is going to be the death of me. I can already tell. I hate that this series is going to be as stressful as last year's Lightning series. I can already tell.
It's going to be riddled with anxiety.
Because both these teams are so good. They match up so well. And it's a series that's going to go 7 games, and I'm going to be really sad if they lose because they should win. And we talked about this. Pasta needs to start scoring.
Yes. Yeah, we talked about it a little last week. Talked about it a little before the show today. I'm looking at the numbers from the game 2 nights ago. Game 2. Great. Bergeron, Marchand, Taylor Hall, and DeBrusk all scored the 4 goals. I mean, that's great. But Pastrnak, nothing. Nothing in game 1. Yep. Nothing in this game except an assist, which is good. He has a point on the board. But
I want to hop in here about Pasta, if you don't mind.
Of course. I was actually just about to ask you about Pasta.
Yeah. He can't play against the Caps. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so going into this series, it was always in question whether or not Pasta was going to be able to put goals up against the Capitals, just due to they know that he's a very good goal scorer. They have a very similar goal scorer in Alex Ovechkin, as well as TJ Oshie, so they know how to defend against him. To be honest, the person I was looking for to come through with the scoring coming into this series was still is Jake DeBrusk.
Yeah.
Just because
He
I mean
has.
he didn't have a great season, but he's still a great hockey player. And
is.
I mean, like, everyone has a bad season every so often, but like as people saw, like, he put that goal in against of course I'm blanking on the rookie goalie that got injured, but even when that goalie went down to the butterfly, like, that was still a nice shot that was gonna go in no matter
was.
what with
Yeah.
with DeBrusk.
And
I
he
think
is the only one that scored in both Game 1 and Game 2
Yep.
on the Bruins.
Yep.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
really stepping up, and I really think that DeBrusk is going to be a big make or break for the Bruins, especially. I'm not too recent on the lines, but is he still playing with if he's still playing with Krejci, Hall, and if it's Krejci,
Yeah.
Hall, and DeBrusk still, then that's a dangerous line right there.
I think it is. Yeah, and I mean, I like seeing the shots on goal numbers too. I mean, DeBrusk, it's not like he's gotten that one shot and one lucky goal. He's consistently being a shooter.
Yeah.
Taylor Hall and Patrice Bergeron right up there in Game 2 with the shots, and they each scored once, but DeBrusk is super involved in this series, a bit more than he was at any point during the regular season. So I guess if he could perform, maybe you don't need Pasta to do it. That takes a little pressure off him.
Yeah, I guess so. Also, I did want to say that DeBrusk is on the third line right now. The second line is Hall, Krejci, and Craig Smith, and the third line is Ritchie, Coyle, and DeBrusk. So,
Okay.
yeah, either way, still having
Yeah.
DeBrusk, third line still isn't bad. But, no, I completely agree there, but I will say I've been a little underwhelmed with the quote-unquote production line so far this series because I saw a stat during the game that showed that they had like 1 or 2 combined total points going into overtime or something like that. Obviously, you make it 2 with Marchand scoring, but I say this over and over and over again. That line of Brad Marchand, Patrice Bergeron, David Pastrnak, they need to be playing well to win this series. And if right now they're not
It's true.
playing well, and that scares me because we've seen this in the playoffs last year, in the playoffs the year before as well, that they kind of underperformed.
After this too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
They've kind of underperformed. 2 years ago when they lost to the Blues, yeah, St. Louis
Yeah.
Blues. Yeah, that line played well at times, but I remember, if I'm not mistaken, overall that top line of Brad Marchand, Patrice Bergeron, and David Pastrnak kind of struggled that whole playoffs, or at least in that series. So you need them to lead this team. They are the core group of this team. Yeah, you want to see secondary scoring, but they need to play well if you want any chance to win the series. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, so
There we go.
yeah, so I think they're playing fine because I'll go back to like the Blues and everything like that. The big issue with why the Bruins didn't ever really follow through to coming into and going the distance and winning it all was because it was only the first line that was putting in goals. Like, we had
Yeah, so
solid.
they were overworked, I guess.
Yeah, we had such a talented like first and second line that they could carry us through the first couple rounds because I mean, like, it's especially with like Bergeron too, he is arguably the greatest defensive forward of all time and definitely the greatest defensive forward of our generation.
Oh, yeah.
And because the thing is that with the acquisition of Hall to the second line, that first line, they can focus more on also being like that goal scoring, but as well as being that solid line that puts out a solid shift, whether they're banging bodies or whether they're going in and just generating chances. Because the thing is that, like, even going back to like, sorry, I overmodulated on my mic, but coming back to just how the series has been going with the Capitals so far, like, Bergeron's putting in goals, Marchand's putting in goals. It's just Pasta that isn't putting in the goals, and I think that's just because the Capitals know that Pasta is Pasta.
Okay, yeah, no, I get that. But, all right, I totally understand that, Tim, but would you at least agree that you need them to start playing a little better this series to have for them to actually beat the Caps?
No, because I think the first line of the Capitals and the first line of the Bruins match up so well that this is going to come down to the third and fourth line.
All right.
Because hockey
That's
is a sport that
That is fair, yeah.
Yeah, like it's. I mean, because I'll kind of compare it to basketball real quick. Like basketball, you can have Curry come in, drop 60, take over a game,
Of course,
and
yeah.
win the game. Like
Yeah.
hockey, you don't have that. Like
Yep.
hockey, even like I think Taylor Hall is a great example of you can be such a good player, and then you can go to a different team and just not ever move anywhere. Like such as Jack Eichel in Buffalo as well.
Yeah.
And Connor McDavid in Edmonton. Connor McDavid still doesn't even have a single cup win or a deep playoff run.
That's a good. That's a really
Yeah.
good point. You're right. Yeah. All right. I get that. That they don't need to play great to win this series, but I will stick with. I think they need to play better to win this series. Again, like you said, they're matched up really well, and so it makes sense that they're not playing well. But I still want to see a little more out of them because they have it in them. There's a reason why they've been called the perfection line. I still hate that name. I hate that name. But I still want to see them play a little bit better. Like I said, they don't need to, but I think it would help them big time if they can play a little better.
I would also like to clarify that it's not that two things. One, I think they should not be called the perfection line. They are the Ratatouille line. Because they have Marchand the rat, they have Pasta the pasta, and they have the French Canadian Bergeron.
That's genius.
That
Wow.
is genius.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, that was a tweet that then my roommate told me about. And also, their matchup for the first line is Alex Ovechkin, Nicholas Backstrom, and Tom Wilson. So,
True.
and it's because one, you have to focus on
Tom Wilson. Sorry.
Yeah, you have to focus. Wilson, he is the quintessential power forward. I'll say that I don't think his actions around the Panarin situation, anyone calling for him to get kicked out of the league, they don't understand hockey.
Correct. I agree.
As well, because that happens. Panarin was the second or third guy into that fight, and Wilson body slammed him. Like he went after a heavyweight when he's like a flyweight. And also, and my thing is, it's not that they're playing bad because they are still putting out those goals. It's just that the skill level they're matched up against. Like Alex Ovechkin is a transcendent goal scorer who's number 6, and he's still on the all-time scoring list, and he's still putting up insane numbers. And Nicholas Backstrom, he's been Ovechkin's center for almost their entire career together. And Tom Wilson, I mean, he's Tom Wilson. He can just bang bodies. So they have a line where they have someone that can physically break down an opposing team, and then two people who have such good chemistry that Ovechkin can sit in the faceoff dot and just get a one-timer slid over to him, and he just rips it.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I gotta say too with Ovechkin. I don't know if this will land or not, if this point will land, but Ovechkin hasn't scored a goal in this series yet. What if he starts turning it on? Should
that's scary.
Should the Bruins be worried at that point?
Yes, they should. He's
Okay.
Alex Ovechkin. I don't know what you think, Tim, but if Alex Ovechkin starts scoring, you got to be worried.
I'm surprised he hasn't gotten a little more involved. He's got the assists, but oh man, if he's getting the goals too, along with Hathaway and
Honestly,
Oshie, then
that's why I say the first line is doing pretty good. Is because
fair.
They've been shutting down Ovechkin in terms of scoring chances.
man, if they could keep doing that, they're looking okay.
Yeah, just
This
think
was
of,
game 2 stats.
Yeah. How many goals does TJ Oshie have so far? I hate TJ Oshie.
One.
you hate TJ Oshie? How can you hate TJ Oshie?
Everybody's like, oh, he's the American hero. He won, what was the Olympics or the...
He won the Olympics against Russia in 2014 in a
I
shootout
know.
where he went up against the entire Russian team.
You know what? I'll say this right now. I hate TJ Oshie right now because we're playing against him. Normally I don't hate him, but like right now since we're playing against him, screw the whole American hero thing.
He put a dagger right through my heart when he scored that first overtime winner. But I'm not kidding. When I say I was sitting there, watched it go in, and the first words out of my mouth were, at least it was TJ Oshie.
Yeah, all right, that makes sense.
The other thing is that his dad did pass away during the season.
That's a good point.
And his first game back,
I don't think you could hate this guy.
First game back, he puts up a hat trick. Like,
yeah, that's cool and everything, but we're playing him. Screw TJ Oshie.
oh yeah, I absolutely hate going up against him. I'd love to see him in a Bruins jersey, but like,
imagine.
Yeah.
I agree.
Gosh.
But hey, I think it's gonna be interesting. They're playing. They have game 3 tonight. Super important game.
As we're recording.
Yeah, super important game. We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. But that's gonna do it for us this week. quick episode. We ran right through everything. It's been just about half an hour already, guys. As always, we thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. We're going to have one last episode before our hiatus next week at the same time. So make sure to, again, like I said, make sure to like this episode if you can, wherever you're listening to it. And stay up to date. We're going to be continuing to post stuff on our Instagram, on our Twitter, on all that kind of stuff to keep you guys updated. But we're hoping roughly the beginning of July to be back after this hiatus. But yeah, next week's going to be our last episode for a little while, and we hope to see you guys there. Thank you as always. We'll see you guys next week.